Hello, Miss Aarons' biology class. This is Miss Aarons with a video from myself. So I know a lot of you have been complaining about not getting enough from the videos and you don't think you understand it, so I'm going to make my own videos, which includes a PowerPoint presentation so you can take notes. Our main topic for today in 5.1 is the cell cycle. The key concept here is that cells have a distinct phase of growth, reproduction, and normal functions. So I want to think about your own cells here. We have stomach cells, we have brain cells, we have skin cells. We have also an enormous amount of other cells, but we'll talk about those three first. So brain cells, stomach cells, and your skin cells all are very different, all have their own different functions, and they all are going to grow and reproduce at their own rates. First thing that we're going to talk about is the cell cycle. The cell cycle has 4 stages. The first one is going to be G1, then we have synthesis, G2, and then mitosis. The cell cycles is a regular pattern of growth, DNA replication, and cell division. That's what makes up the whole cycle. 90% of this cell cycle is actually in the interphase, which makes up G1, S, and G2. Mitosis and cytokinesis is on their own level. So let's talk about these stages. First, we have G1, which is also known as GAP1. That's going to be when the cells grow and normal functions occur. So they are actually going to grow, carry out normal functions, and replicate their own organelles. The next one is DNA synthesis, which copies the DNA. The next one after that is going to be G2. G2 is additional growth, but what that really means is that the size has to have adequate size. The cell has to have adequate size, undamaged DNA before the cell can undergo mitosis and division. The last one is mitosis, and there's 5 different stages of mitosis, okay? Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and cytokinesis. We're going to be talking about those all next section, so you're going to get to know those very well. What you have to know about mitosis for this section is that it divides the nucleus, which is mitosis, and the division of the cytoplasm, which is the cytokinesis. Mitosis occurs only if the cell is large enough and DNA is undamaged, and they go through that and check it during the G2 phase. So different rates. Cells are all going to divide at different rates, and each different rate for different types of cells. So each one of those different rates. So let's talk about these rates here. Here is a great diagram, and that's also found in your book on page 128 if you need to look at it, about the cell's lifespan. So skin cells are going to last for about 2 weeks, red blood cells 4 months, liver cells 300 to 500 days, intestine, which is going to be the inner lining, is going to be 4 to 5 days, and intestine, muscular, and other tissues is going to be 16 years. So some of your cells right now are just now dying and starting to regrow and replicate, which is kind of amazing. And every single cell, whether it be bacteria, we know that it's going to be a prokaryotic cell, and those are going to have a lifespan that are going to be shorter, and they're going to reproduce a lot faster compared to our cells, which obviously takes 2 weeks. Okay, some cells do not divide whatsoever, and they actually call those G0. These G0 cells are unlikely to divide, although they continue to carry out normal functions. So they can still keep working. They don't just die and they're not there anymore, okay? They still keep going, keep living, but they just do not replicate. Cell size is limited. Volume increases faster than the surface area in cells. So the relative size, we have a couple of different pictures here, and this is also found on page 129. So when it talks about this here, it talks about the surface area. So that's going to be the surface, which is length times width times the number of sides, and then the volume, which is length times width times height. And then they actually give us the ratio from surface area to volume. With that, as a cell grows, its volume increases more rapidly than its surface area. When the surface area to volume ratio is too small, the cell cannot move materials in to and out of the cell at a sufficient rate or sufficient quantities. So the cell is not going to be working anymore, pretty much. So if you look at those, I want you to answer in your head, which cell has the largest surface area? And that is going to be the third one there. Which cell has the largest surface area to volume ratio? So we have a 6:1, a 3:1, and a 2:1. The largest ratio. So which cell do you think isn't going to work? Think about it. That'll be a question that I'll ask you when you come up with your notes for reading as well as watching the video. So I just talked to you about the surface area must allow for adequate exchange of materials. Cell growth is coordinated with division. Cells that must be large have inadequate shapes. So here's a couple of them that are large and they don't have adequate shapes. That is Miss Erin's video for this section. Stay tuned for 5.2.